formal part of the evening, and this is the formal community council meeting. And so in this part, everything's kind of through the chair. So I would ask you just to make sure we're listening to each other and everything comes through the chair. But can I firstly welcome you all. There's some new faces there tonight. A big warm welcome from us, but also to introduce our community councillors, starting from, let's start from Andrew.
Hello, I'm Andrew King, Vice Chair.
Julia Canata,
Super. Alison Dickey, Chair.
Audrey Glencoe, Secretary.
Hamish MacLeod, member. Annie Cassidy, no job.
Geraldine Harden.
You always make me laugh, Dan. Okay, so welcome tonight. So let me go first of all. Actually, before I go further, I'd like to, Community Council, just ask this. Do we have anyone else in the room? So tonight there is a slot where you can express an interest to be co-opted on as a community councillor. So pretty much it's what we all do, but there's not the kind of, well, it's pretty much really what we all do, isn't it? So, and it's not temporary, kind of more temporary basis until the next formal elections. But, so it's been well promoted, we've had it out there, we've got one person particularly interested. Would anybody else like to show their hands? We don't need to talk about it now, but just show your hands if there's anyone else in the room that has that interest. Thank you, I've noted that. Okay, so it's good for me to know who's in the room, and then I can talk about it once we get to there. Right, okay. Can I just apologise for my voice now? I've nearly lost my voice today at school, and yes, I don't usually sound like this, is what I'm going to say. So item number 1, we'll just say welcome, introduction, apologies. Let's move. I haven't said apologies.
So apologies from Margaret, who's our committee member, Susan and Al.
Okay, super. So moving to item number 2, minutes, Community Council. So you happy to agree the minutes? And so can we have a proposer and a seconder?
Are you proposing?
Yeah, I think it's
I'll take it.
And second. Okay, everybody fine? Yep, that's that. Super. Now moving to a warden's report, item 3. Andrew, do we have?
No, unfortunately not. I'm going to have to do a lot more in this because obviously the exams aren't coming up anymore, and I understand that there's a bit of a lack of manpower. But I was getting it sent to me in advance, even when I'm reminding them, and I'm not getting it in advance.
Right.
So
you're not even getting a written update, aye?
So my apologies on their behalf. I need to chase them.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thanks. And I'm just chasing up. Even it's just written, updates. Hello. Good evening. Do you have a seat? Okay. So that's the kind of biggest formalities over there. The first item tonight is River Clyde Homes. Is the background in River Clyde Homes. It was raised by residents in River Clyde Homes of the impact of the increased charges. There was a previous combined increase, and now there's another heating increase, and of the impact in people struggling with the cost of living. So we have been in communication with River Clyde Homes, just different communications back and forward. But River Clyde Homes have kindly agreed, on force actually, to come along tonight. There is nothing better than in person in terms of actually hearing the information, and then we'll be asking them some questions as well. So I'm going to, if you don't mind, Steve, get you to come up and actually introduce your team.
Introduce the team, yeah.
Excuse me,
I'll stand up.
Oh, yeah.
I declare a declaration of conflict of interest, so I won't be any debate.
Totally, I get that. So there's
River Clyde Homes.
Right, okay, so we've
Here's
got two conflicts of interest, so that just means we don't see anything.
No, that's fine.
So, okay.
Thank you, Nelson. Thank you, folks. My name's Ian McLaren. I'm the Customer Service Director at River Clyde Homes, and sometimes I walk a bit when I'm talking, so if I'm doing too much, just say. I'm here tonight to talk about district heating. I can't profess, I'm not going to stand up here and say I'm an expert in district heating systems or anything like that. I've got a reasonable knowledge, I've got a good knowledge of that particular system though, and I'm supported tonight by Elaine, who is our housing services, our housing services. We've got Toby, who is our energy and sustainability manager. We've got Michael is our financial wellbeing team lead. That's right, Michael, right title. And we've got Val in the corner there, over there. And Val is our acting area housing manager. So we've got a good, to see if I don't know the answer to the question, which is highly likely, we have good team members that will be able to help us out. We received maybe at the start of the year, there was 2 letters, just what, maybe February, March, and it was in relation to district heating costs at Eastern View. And one was from Eastern View Residents Association, and one was from Gourock Community Council. And there was letters going backwards and forwards and emails. But I'm a great believer in speaking face to face. I think it works much better to be talking, and we get invited along, and we thought we'd come along. First of all, I started in Riverclyde Homes in 2016, and I think that the system that was in place at Eastern View, we introduced that in maybe 2017, Hamish, do you remember? I know you're declaring interest, but it's 2017 we put the system in. We had a heating charge in Eastern View for a number of years, and it remained the same until 2024. It's the same across all of district heat networks, the cost never went up. Unfortunately, in 2024, the cost went up a bit more. There was a bit of a rise, and it brought it more in line with heating charges and other places. We looked at it, we did a deep review. What we had to do was make sure that people were paying the correct amount, because Riverclyde Homes was significantly contributing towards those heating costs, and that's a fact. And we still significantly contribute to those heating costs, but not as much as we did in the past. So what we did is we increased the charge, and we increased the charge again last year, and we increased the charge again this year. And I think the charge at the moment, and my colleagues will maybe keep me right, is 17.5 pence per kilowatt hour, and that was introduced in 2026. And the district, or the standing charge, is, I've just lost it there. The standing charge per day is 38 pence, and that compares favourably with electricity heating costs, because at the moment electricity kilowatt per hour, the average cost is, I know the rest of the member numbers, is across the UK 57 pence, 25 pence and 57 pence for standing charge. But it's still a lot of money at the moment, right? So if your heating costs went up, it's went up, and you're feeling it, and we're really conscious that in a cost of living crisis that we have to support people through that, and we're keen to make sure that we've got people here to support you. A couple of messages I want to get across, right? I want to be able to say that if you've got the heating system, that people are using it correctly. I looked today to see what the average heating cost was, and the average heating cost in Eastern View, and for that multi-storey, is about £46 per month, heating and hot water, which compares probably favourably with other heating systems, I would say. But there's some people that are outliers, because there's some people that are using hardly anything, and there's other people that are using a lot. And I look today, and I think what we're going to have to do is see people that are using a lot, and it's a much higher. Maybe we need to chat to them and say, are you using it properly, and what can we do? Is the system operating correctly? Are you operating the system correctly? And can we do anything else? Another thing is, if anybody's struggling with their heating bills, or any of the charges that we have in place, or any charges, we've got Michael from our financial wellbeing team. We're always keen to do referrals, because we are conscious there's a cost of living crisis, that people need a bit of support, that we try and get the message out there and see what we can do. Are there other things that we could be doing? Is there things that we could be doing in terms of income maximisation, or is there things that we could be doing to ensure that we're using the system properly and that we're helping people? One of the other things that came up in the letter, and I want to be kind of really clear about this one, was one of the other things that came up was about how we consulted and made people aware. When I started, we used to use postcards. We used to send postcards out to everybody, 6,000 postcards for rent, and thousands of postcards about caretaking charges and heating charges. About 3-4 years ago, we introduced a system called CX Feedback, and it's phones. It's the same way you get a survey in any other way. Now you get a survey about how well we did or what we're going to do. And we introduced that, and it works fairly well. I think just in April, in terms of a rent consultation, we sent around 5,000 texts out to customers who we had the details for. In terms of the heating charge for Eastern View, we sent out, I've got the numbers, we sent out 61 surveys to Eastern View on the 6th of January, and 47 of them were successful. So 61 were sent out and 47 were successful. That means that in 14 of those cases, we didn't have the right details, the right mobile number, the right email address, we can send texts and emails. So what we want to do is make sure that if we're sending it out, we're sending it to the right place. So conscious that some people never got the text or the email, and we'll keep working with people to make sure that we've got the right details, and if people need to change their address or email address or phone numbers, we can do that. We received 15 responses back to the survey by the 12th of January, between the 6th and 12th of January, and they all opted for the lower rate was of an increase of 4.8%. Now, 4.8 or 5.3, that was the choices. People went for 4.8%, conscious that there's only two choices. There wasn't a yes or no, it was one sum or another sum. People would generally go for that one. But I want to, there's a wee bit of learning in this for me, because if people missed out, what we heard was that some people read about it in the newspaper, and that's not the ideal way to do anything. Nobody wants to read about something in the newspaper. So the newspaper story came in the 13th of January, we'd sent the text out beforehand, and across the board we had a really successful survey. It's about 25% returns across the board. 15, I can't remember I can't do the maths in that, but we had 15 returns from Eastern Europe. Next year, what I want to make sure is that when we send out the surveys, that we do it in a different way as well. See, in order to, we've replaced all the paper and we've gone completely digital. What we'll make sure we do is we've got cards and we've got notices in, in the foyer areas and notice boards that we're putting it through a consultation, and that people can see that. And I'm quite keen to ensure that people get the message out as soon as possible. I've waffled on a bit, right, but I'm just trying to make sure that we've got the right things. Two things we can do is we can make sure that the system's working properly and that people know how to use it. And two, not only the heating bills, about people's rent, about council tax, we can ensure that people are getting the assistance, financial wellbeing services that that people are entitled to. Really keen. We've got a team of three officers, full-time officers. In terms of financial gain, what we look at, Michael, no plan to bring you in, but very quickly, you explain what financial gain is, because you're better at it than me.
So basically, in the last year we helped 1,000 of our tenants with our benefit advice.
Just feel free to stand up so just everybody can see if you don't mind, thank you.
So in the last year we've got a stock of 5,600 customers, so my team delivered advice for over 1,000 folks, so it's like 16% of our tenants would deliver benefit advice. So if someone's incomes need maximised, we get them on the housing benefit or council tax. Generally speaking, you're getting their initial payment, then you would multiply that by 52 weeks, and that would give them their annual gain. That's a kind of national way of recording the guidance. So the team is responsible for getting 3.96 million in the last kind of financial year. We get referrals, internal, external. We do our newsletters to promote our services. I've been in Eastern Europe a few times in 2026 giving advice, so that will still continue.
Really keen. That service operates on referrals. It operates on people going to them. It operates on if one of your neighbours needs assistance, get the name in, and we will get out and try and do what we can. Now, have I answered the questions, or have you got more questions?
Well, I think I'll just share some more questions.
Yeah, that would be great.
Just
Thank
curiosity.
you. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Can I just actually begin, if you don't mind, just before, so I just check a couple of things.
Yeah.
So obviously one of the bones of contention was finding out about it in the paper. You mentioned though that texts had been out before.
Text went out on the 6th of January. Texts and emails went across the board on the 6th of January.
And that's to Eastern, is that to Eastern View?
It was across all content system customers.
Yeah, the other thing was, in terms of, you mentioned income maximisation, which obviously is, we'll talk about actually after the cost of living as well, actually, it's a wider subject. But what about, because obviously we're thinking about hidden poverty, not exactly just, benefit poverty. So for those sitting just under, for instance, just, a bit below the eligible, I can never say that word, the requirements basically.
Yeah.
Has there been some thought about that?
Yeah, the team will work with anybody in relation to that one. You, Michael, you'll try and work out. It's not just about benefits; it's about working out what other things can we do. You're there, Michael. You're
it covers everything. We put out a magazine generally every 18 months to every single one of our tenants. We put it online as well, so we're conscious we capture everywhere. We do a lot of outreach. We've been around all our high-rise flats in the last 18 months. we're linked in with the caretakers, we're putting flyers up the foyer, we're always promoting the benefit service. There's different times of the year when the coachments come in, we do a lot of work around that as well, it's kind of fuel poverty as well. We're forever publicising on our social media feeds the good work that's required out there as well. So no benefit, whether it's DWP or Social Security Scotland, we tap into all of them. We also link in with Financial Inclusion Partnership and Clyde Council, there's about 28 partners on that. So we do a lot of networking for best practice as well.
That's great, thanks so much, thank you.
Can I add another thing then, just in terms of the consultation process, and Elaine and I spoke about this earlier on. We do texts, and the texts and emails generally works. It generally works, but we don't want to just go texts and emails. But we were booking halls. We were booking halls across communities in Inverclyde and asking people to come along pre-Christmas. But we didn't always get a huge response. In fact, we were booking the halls, and I was saying it was a reasonable response. Nobody was coming, and we were advertising it really, really widely. What we're prepared to do then, see for Eastern View, is when we do it again next year, when it comes to consultations again, book it for the hall, the community room at the bottom, to ensure that we get as many people there as possible.
Yeah,
because we don't want that, we want to learn all the
I think
time.
that's, even as a community council, in terms of, not just relying texts, it's with that breadth of, actual, consultation as well. And also the fact that people don't feel it's a fait accompli.
Yeah.
That they feel that actually their views are actually wanted, not just to sign something off.
Yeah.
One other thing that was raised before I open this up, so it's just a number of things that come from residents, and I just wanted to make sure they're covered. So apparently they're getting asked to pay for the removal of asbestos as well.
Unaware of
Okay, that's a new one. Right, that's fine.
No,
We
no,
can follow that up afterwards.
that. Yeah, I'm happy to do that by email, but I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, that's super, thank you so much. So yes, open up, apologies, thank you. Yes, over to yourself.
I just want to know, I've got a vested interest in this, a number of your tenants or your clients will be elderly.
Yes.
Not everyone has a text
Yes.
number, not everybody's got one. How do you identify the ones who are housebound who have got no one to help them?
What we do,
Good
that's a really good question. What we've got in Eastern View, stage one, right? In terms of digital, right? We've got text, we've got emails, but we've got a project called Digital by Desire, right? You can go digital if you want. If you don't want to go digital, we'll speak to you in different ways. We want you to. I see the start. I said face to face. I like things face to face. That's what I'm used to. I'm better that way. I would rather do that.
How regularly do you meet with Eastern View residents?
We have probably in terms of, not me particularly, but there's a housing officer dedicated to Eastern View as a full-time caretaker there.
Yeah, so Chloe Story, she's the housing officer, so there is a dedicated housing officer for Eastern View, and she'll attend any of the meetings she's invited to. But Stevie said, just what you said there, that was, a really good point. We do have elderly people, we do have people that maybe don't exactly. So I think what Stevie said, like, even going forward, as well as there's an Eastern View Tenants and Residents Association, obviously we can meet with them directly, but also putting posters up. But we know individuals who would like a visit to discuss any of our proposals around the heating charges, the rent charges. We're happy to do one-to-one visits to their home.
How do you identify these people?
Well, we will have some information on our system. We do have a vulnerabilities list, and so we can identify some tenants, but sometimes people's needs can change, and unless we have that up-to-date information. But as Stevie says, there is a caretaker at the block as well, so who should know their tenants, and anybody who would wish to meet with us, we're more than happy to do that, as well as meet within the group as well.
As you'll have seen, obviously, the best recently with the gentleman who's going out to shelter pricing complex, as you mentioned, Jill. That's not an isolated thing.
No.
He's just been caught.
No, I spoke with this earlier today in terms of whether it's a multi-storey building, whether it's a sheltered housing complex, an older person services complex. Lock your doors, because we can put measures in, we can put CCTV in, we can have staff out and about, police can be out and about, but a determined individual will do things, to try and get in, but try and lock the doors all the time.
The other thing, sorry, I should say, sorry to interrupt you there, Stevie, but with the caretaker being in the block as well, they communicate on a regular basis with the housing officer as well, so if they've got any concerns or somebody would want to visit or somebody wants consultation, they'll link in with the housing officer and they will certainly do a visit. I know Chloe's down at the block, on a regular basis, but you're right, it is important that we know the needs of our customers, and if people's needs change, it is important that we're updated on that as well.
Can I just keep it through the chair? Thank you. Can I just, would you like to add to that at all? You sure? I know, I'm aware we have other River Clyde residents in the audience in the public area. Does anyone want to ask any questions at all? Yeah, okay, on you go.
So, this is a question to everybody. Who in this room is on income support? Now, you don't have to answer, but nobody's going to put up their hand and say, oh yeah, or they owe money to the bank or anything else. And a lot of those, some of those elderly or vulnerable people probably are struggling with paying the bills, but they're not going to come out because A, it's embarrassing, and B, because they'll think, well, I'm the poor person or whatever else. But I appreciate that's not necessarily your fault, because somebody invades another country and it's right across the board. Everybody's bill goes up, yeah? We're a huge world, but actually when things happen, it seems to impact on, Mabel from Eastern View.
Yeah.
Right? The only thing I would say, I've been in those flats, and on each floor there is a good little community, and somebody will say, oh, she's got a little key thing because she has helpers going in and everything else. So on each floor there's a little, almost a group.
Yeah.
But I think it's good that they've got your caretaker, because he kind of does know a little bit. But maybe you should liaise with him a little bit more to find out, because the people who want help the most are probably some of the proudest people who don't want to. But you know that to a certain
So
extent.
very good point.
So,
okay, thank you.
So that and the lids.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy for the comments, to be honest, because they back up some of the things we're saying. We've done a review of caretaking services across our multi-storey building about 5-6 years ago, just before COVID. And what we introduced for all the multi-stories, what we were trying to replicate what happens in Eastern View, right? Because there's community on every landing. There's a community in the building. The caretaker in there, we call them a community caretaker. We've called them the new model's community caretaking. It's doing more than the traditional caretaking services, keeping an eye on people. It's keeping an eye on vulnerable people, and we do speak to the caretaker. In terms of what I think we could maybe do in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, if it's suited at Eastern View, is if there's a coffee morning or something that's happening, or an event in the area, we could probably get the financial wellbeing team, housing officer, housing manager into there to try and talk to people, because there is no stigma, right? Like you say, there is no stigma, but who's going to stand up and say, I'm experiencing difficulty with this? It's about getting support to people instead of people speak individually. So I'm happy to follow up with that.
Yes, thank you, on you go.
I live in Eastern View and I have for 25 years, and I've yet to see any of these people from River Clyde Homes at our community meeting the last Tuesday of every month. And there's never been one come and visit us, speak to us, anything. So what they're saying is not right. The caretaker's fabulous and does a lot for the flat, but if River Clyde Homes showed a bit of interest in Eastern View, we'd really appreciate it, because they don't.
And I think that goes back to, and I'll bring in a little second, it goes back to the fact that often it always falls down often at the communication and that kind of side of things. So I know today you've mentioned about there's a residents association, but I think what we're hearing a little bit is that that's not a regular occurrence. It's actually you sitting down with the residents association and keeping those very direct conversations going and making sure that communication is happening with those elderly or vulnerable residents. Let's just be honest, it's not ideal, is it? So I think we need to be listening very carefully to that. And I'll come in here. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm really disappointed to hear, you know, if that's the case, but we would be delighted to come to meetings that we're invited to. We actually attend a lot of different TARA's community council meetings as well. So either the housing officer for the area or the area housing manager, and what we try to do is make sure that it's like whatever your issues are, whatever you'd like to discuss, it might be a mix of housing staff and maybe our property colleagues would come along as well. So absolutely, we would love to get an invite and we will be represented at the meeting.
Can we propose a community council action on this one? Would it be, and looking at the residents in particular, we can actually ask River Clyde Homes formally, you know, as a community council, is that they commit to liaison with the Residents Association to make sure that they attend. So you'd agree so many meetings, whatever, that River Clyde Homes are going to attend. They're already looking as if they're suggesting that, but we can actually formally ask that as a community council, whether it's a public body or whoever it might be. That's only one aspect, or that's the communication aspect. I feel there's a wee bit that still needs addressed in terms of those, just this chap, so that was a very big point in terms of, you know, people that are, you don't want that stigma, you don't want that, you know, raise your hands, but also the people that aren't on the benefits, that don't qualify, you know, for the benefits, are just sitting under the line, but for a whole number of different, you know, situations in their life are struggling, and that small increase to some makes a big impact.
We are happy to work with anybody in relation to that and financial wellbeing team. Not working people for benefits, they work with anybody to try and improve their standard of living. Yeah, in terms of, you know, within the cost of living crisis, we'll do what we can. The services that you pay for are the services you should get, and that's through the financial wellbeing team. And I'm suggesting that, you know, that I know you're saying the caretaker, but the caretaker is a River Clyde Homes employee who represents River Clyde Homes in that building and the housing officers there, but we will pick that up. We will.
Robert?
Just to say thank you for what you said there. It's a really good theory, what you're saying, and I'd love to see that going forward. Just what my colleague here said in front of me, in the last 8 months I've spoken to around 4,000 households in Inverclyde. Quite a lot of them have been River Clyde home tenants, such as Thistlecourt, Rosemont, all these sort of places. And I've heard a very similar story to what you just said, that they basically don't have very much contact with River Clyde Homes at all. Now, in Thistlecourt, Rose Court, for example, and Eastern View, I was in quite a lot of them houses. I got to see the heating systems that are in place, and some of them have got boilers that look like they're from the 50s that really need to be updated. People are telling me they don't run their hot water because it costs them so much money, they're using their dishes to cold water. Things like that. Now, I understand that may be a situation where the older boilers are costing more money than the new ones, but a lot of the houses are still stuck with older boilers. In Eastern View alone, I was in the caretaker's flat, speaking to him at great length with some of the problems in Eastern View. I spoke to nearly every household in Eastern View as well, and they were all basically the exact same as this person was telling me in front, that there was no income from homes. Now, I'd note down your figures there.
Yeah.
If that's the price for a full watt-hour of heating, then fantastic, that's great. But a lot of the people were giving me that information, they were saying their bills are extraordinarily high. I think there'll be more of a survey from you.
No, I think that's fair enough. I think the difficulty is if you haven't paid anything for, you know, when I say the really, really historically low rates, then when you introduce it, it becomes difficult. And I can only apologise that it took to 2024, there wasn't incremental increases. That won't happen again. And I get, I could go to another multi-storey meeting and it's a different issue about the heating, different types of thing. We have got full-time staff in every multi-storey in Inverclyde. That's unusual, right? Across the board, that is unusual, right? So they represent us in those buildings. They work with the housing officers. If there's issues came up, we will try and resolve them. I hear what you're saying, take it on the chin, do what you can.
Just to be clear, that my comments there was specifically targeted at the heating issues.
Yeah.
I heard a multitude of different issues throughout all of the buildings.
You may have heard of repair issues and stuff as well.
Not just repair issues, lots of different things.
But I come along specifically prepared about Eastern View's district heating system.
It's
So,
where the way to clear
no, that's fine. No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Now looking directly at the residents, and I'm just going to wind it up now. Is there anything else that you would suggest? You know, because the community council, as we're saying, I think we can actually, well, talking to you now, just officially send you a little letter to say, you know, we want to see much more liaison with the Residents Association. You know, but is there anything else?
Well, there's quite a lot of issues need addressed at this review, and I believe that Hamish does write letters to Riverclyde Homes, and we don't get much response.
Oh, you don't get responses?
Like the lift being dangerous.